peoples.
Look at that. We're live now.
Nice.
What were you saying about the preseason, Justice?
It's just like going to the game in the preseason. I'm thinking like they had the Bills legends there, and I was thinking like, hey, I get to see all the Bills legends, and I go to the table and it's freaking packed, and I'm just like, yeah, well, I guess Bills Mafia is huge. You kind of got to deal with a lot of people. So
You'd be surprised because they had the Pro Bowl down here in Orlando, at least for the last couple of years before they just moved it now to Vegas. But when the Bills went, I believe Trey White and Tremaine Edmonds had both went to the Pro Bowl that year, trying to get their autograph in Orlando, where there's a lot of Bills Mafia here, but like there's people that aren't even Bills Mafia running up to these guys like, hey, just sign my shit. And I'm just like, hey, I'm the one standing here with the Trey White jersey. Let me sign this shit. And then, of course, like while we're sitting at the practice, watching them practice for the Pro Bowl and everything like that, which I don't know why you need to practice for the Pro Bowl, but like they're out there just walking around. And of course, all the Bills fans, we all congregate together because that's what we do. And then like the Bills players, Tremaine Edmonds saw and like pointed at us, and we all started flipping our shit and everything. And like,
yeah, that's dope.
It's amazing. But I mean, we're live, so let's talk about the game. I mean, everybody wants to talk about the game, right, guys? So like
about the game.
We all woke up like itching, like, oh, gotta talk about
football.
Gotta talk about it. So we're doing it right now. Obviously, a little placeholder logo down there, those Buffalo football guys. That's kind of what we are. We're Buffalo football guys. Two guys based in Buffalo, and then a guy who's got links to Buffalo. So that's
Are you from Buffalo, Jake?
No, my dad is. I'm Florida born and raised. So I'm
you know what? Kudos to your dad for keeping on the tradition and you know what I'm saying, teaching you the ways of Bills Mafia. So
dude, I like all my life leading up to, man, I hate this lighting right here, but my whole life I heard, yeah, well, the Bills suck. So I was like, then why the fuck am I even going to watch football if the team that I got to watch is terrible? So it's not until I hit like middle school where I'm actually interested in playing football whenever I'm like, all right, I want to watch football because I watched the Gators my whole life because I was like a Gators fan. So I was a big college football guy. But then finally I was like, you know what? They just hired Rex Ryan. Let's see how it goes. So I was like, all right, I'm going to get into this. And of course, you know, we dealt with whatever. We only had to deal with Rex Ryan for only a few years before we got McDermott. So I haven't had to go through as much shit as everybody else, but I know about it. I feel like that baggage just gets transferred from like person to person. It's just like my dad had to deal with it for 20 years. So then he's like, you must know the pain. And I'm like, okay, I do know it. But the final score, 47-17. Oh my God.
Dumping.
Like if there was one team that you wanted to do this to in the playoffs, it was the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
So just talking about the score, I want your guys's, like, I want to know what your guys' experiences were watching the game. How do you feel? And then of course, we're all waking up this morning itching to talk about it. What are you guys feeling right now? I gotta know. We'll start with Justus.
Man, first of all, I'm so excited. Like, first of all, I tweeted this last night. If this happens in week 18, it doesn't hold as much weight. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
If it happens in week 18, people are like, oh, the Bills are looking strong going into the playoffs, but they're inconsistent and all this other crap, right? You know, so it feels really, really good to have this happen in a wild card round of the playoffs versus a division opponent who you just snatched the crown from. You know, they got up, you know, they sat on the throne and they were trying to grab at the crown, and then we came and we slapped them off the throne and took the crown back, and then in playoffs we just absolutely kicked them out of the throne room. So you know, a thumping like 47-17, and they really shouldn't have even had 17 if we're being honest. You know, it's just garbage time stuff, whatever. Leslie Frazier, Brian Daboll, Sean McDermott, Josh Allen. They put on an absolute clinic, an absolute show. And this is going to put the AFC, this is going to put the NFL on notice. Every single team remaining in the playoffs, if you want to win a chip this year, you're going to have to go through the Buffalo Bills. And it's just a blessing to be in this position where, we can feel this way, after so long of just having mediocrity. It feels pretty good to be able to have a win like this and at home. So pretty cool.
Ryan, how we feeling after this amazing, utter beatdown of a division rival?
So I had two feelings about it. So there was last night and then there was this morning. I'm going to start with this morning because this morning was the first time since probably the Chiefs win that I woke up feeling like it was a victory, in this case Sunday. First time since the Chiefs win. But then last night, I'm going to admit, I was pissed. Because I came home and I hopped on Red Dead Redemption 2 online to play with a couple buddies of mine. Jake there with the smile. And I realized in that moment, with the adrenaline still pumping, that I could have named my online character Buffalo Bill. And I could have named my posse Bill's Mafia. And I didn't. And that's why I was pissed, because nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
I love it.
So I was pissed. But I was still, and eventually about an hour in, I was like, oh man, I got to go to bed. I'm exhausted now. The adrenaline came down. But no, seriously, like I said, this is the first time it truly feels like a victory, like a next day victory, in this case, victory Sunday, not Monday. Because we just won in the playoffs. And we not only did that, we played for the third time, I think in history, for the third time this season, a division rival in the New England Patriots. And we absolutely obliterated them, 47-17. Absolutely obliterated. And then you go on Twitter and you see Pats fans putting on their Bucs gear or turning around and making excuses or talking trash about the Bills. And so it's great to see. And I'm going to relish this for another week until we go ahead, because you know what? Why not us? My only question is, like Justus brought up, where has this team been all season? This is another gear that we haven't even seen. This is a gear we didn't even see them last year in. This was a completely different gear.
Everybody's healthy now.
Man, I don't even want to say that that's it. This is a complete, 8 drives, 7 of the 8 you score. The 8 you put Mitch Trubisky out there to kneel it down because you're up 47-17. Perfect game. First perfect game in NFL history. Where has this team been all year?
I'll tell you where they've been, Ryan. They have been on page 3 of the playbook, which Brian Daboll has not flipped to all year. All right, so that was the best thing last night. Is
hold on, I got a question for you guys real quick. Is Ryan Bates a magician? Like, what the hell happened? Like, the offensive line is just phenomenal now. Is he like some sort of demigod or something?
He's Harry Potter. He's the chosen one.
I'm not gonna say that he is Anakin Skywalker, but he's close to it. He ends up being the chosen one in the end. The thing is, I'm not going to say the Buffalo Bills staged the Ike Bodker injury and the John Feliciano COVID situation, knowing that Ryan Bates was going to send us to the promised land. But there's a lot of credence to the people in the conspiracy theories in the middle of the season that were saying, oh, we're just holding off until the playoffs. We're just holding off. This game feels like Brian Daboll finally went, okay, we can flip to page 3. Like, let's do it. Let's show out. They're getting interviews for jobs, and they're saying, hey, now let's do this. And by God, did it look like they did it. 47-17. I would say probably 10 of those points the Patriots got. It was just like whatever at that point. It's so fun to watch a game like this because not only do you beat down somebody who beat you down for 20 years, but then you get to see Bill Belichick in his scuba suit because he's so cold out there, walking off the field, barely shaking hands, mad that he spent $157 million in free agency and got a little bum game manager quarterback and couldn't win the big one. He should have known. You lose 3 out of your last 4 going in the playoffs. You're a team that probably shouldn't have made it in. And guess what? Right now, that team overachieved like the Dolphins did last year. But the Dolphins didn't make it in the playoffs. But if they did, it would have looked like this if they played us. That's what happens when you got a top dog and a little dog. And that top dog ain't going to let that little dog mess with him at all. This is our yard. The AFC East, 2 years in a row, the Buffalo Bills are whipping that ass. It don't matter if you're Bill Belichick. You can bring fucking Bill Parcells in. You can bring whoever you want. Anybody who's had success in your organization. Bring Tom Brady back after he retires. It don't matter. The Buffalo Bills run this division.
Well, so I was just sorry, real quick. I was going to say, can we talk about that from Tom Brady? They had to spend somewhere between 150 to 160 million dollars to bring in so much talent. And the only talent on offense is probably Kendrick Bourne, who most Pats fans are saying isn't even their number one wide receiver, that they need to go find their true number one. Dude, Justus and I have talked about this. I'll take Kendrick Bourne if you're not going to, I would take Kendrick Bourne in a heartbeat. That man actually went out and gave you, I'm not going to say a fighting chance last night, but was the only guy that was actually able to really produce anything for you consistently, not just last night, but throughout the entire season before that. And you spent 154 to 163 million somewhere in there to replace Tom Brady. That's how important Tom Brady was to your franchise and you never paid him anywhere close to that. And you ended up getting beaten out. You ended up squeaking into the playoffs by stacking 7 wins against some pretty questionable teams, and then turning around and getting beat 47-17 by a division rival who you already played twice in that year.
Yeah, that should just magnify the significance of how bad of a general manager is Bill Belichick. You've seen it throughout the whole span of the 20-year dynasty that they had. They could not draft for shit. They really couldn't when it came to offensive players. And the only thing that they had to be able to cover that up is they had Tom Brady, who could make bums look respectable. So it really is just an indictment on Bill Belichick finally going, hey, I'm going to do something a little different. And then paying dudes who arguably, I would say that the only dude that maybe deserved the contract that he got was Hunter Henry, because he's been a red zone threat for them this year. But Nelson Aguilar hasn't really done anything. He's been hurt all year. I mean, go ask Philly fans. They'd say go figure. And then you got Jonnu Smith, who Titans fans are probably just it was just beautiful last night. You could tell that the pass, I believe, was going to Kendrick Bourne or Jacoby Myers, and Jonnu Smith puts his hand up and tips it, and they don't get that. It's just it didn't work out.
I remember in the offseason when Bills fans wanted the front office to sign Jonnu Smith, and if you really took a deep dive at the numbers, Jonnu Smith and Dawson Knox at that time in the previous season had the same production. I mean, the same production. And then Jonnu Smith maintains said production. If not, it drops in New England. And then Dawson Knox comes out and has a breakout elite tight end type year. I mean, look at even the fact. Okay, so he had 2 touchdowns last night? And then on the first one, Josh Allen even said, even after the game, he goes, I was still trying to throw that away, and he still caught it for that first touchdown. It's most Bills fans would never be general managers, first off, which we all know. But I mean, man, Jonnu Smith.
We're general managers, armchair general managers.
That is true. That is true. But man, Jonnu Smith was supposed to be the guy that came in and saved the Bills tight end position. And then last night he goes and he screws up, which wouldn't matter because it would make it 24 to 47 to 24, something like that.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Whatever the math
if
is.
most Bills fans were general managers, Josh Allen wouldn't be on the team anymore,
Yeah.
and we'd probably still be bums. And then, but we'd have Zach Ertz this year, maybe. So that maybe works. So who knows? I absolutely loved this showing by the Buffalo Bills because 47-17, obviously huge margin there. I mean, we did first round bye, me and Justus with Izzy, and we were kind of playing it a little coy, like it's gonna be close, and Izzy's like, no, we're gonna blow those bums out, basically. And of course that's what Izzy does. And I absolutely love this game. I called my dad this morning because last night I was like hype. I was hopped up on vitamins and all that shit. I wasn't in a state
vitamins.
The vitamins. Sure. Yeah. I'm all hopped up on that, and I'm like 6 Yinglings deep. I'm like, I'm done. Like, you don't talk to me. Like, I'm talking shit no matter what. But when I talked to my dad, I was like, is this what it felt like for you? The first year the Bills went to the Super Bowl when they absolutely smacked the Raiders. They laid it was like 51-3. That's what they did. I was like, is this how it felt when you did that going into the playoffs? Because in the playoffs, it's a whole different season, right? It's like, all right, everybody you win or you go home. I was like, is this how it felt that first year, where the year before that, they were still being called the bickering Bills and all that stuff? I was like, and they don't get it done. They lose in either the divisional. I think they even lose in the divisional round to the Browns. And then the next year you come back and everybody doesn't give you a chance against the Raiders. And the Bills just went in and smacked them. I was like, is this how it felt? He was like, Jake, this one feels even better because it is the New England Patriots. For the amount of pain that they have put this franchise through for 20 years. Now, I understand it's a different culture and everything, but you can still feel those wounds are there in the stadium. They all feel it, and they know, they hear the people talking. And I love seeing all the talking heads eat crow after them, of course, your Teddy Bruschi, all those people that played on the Patriots being like, no, Bill Belichick in the playoffs, he's a totally different animal. No, the fuck he's not. When he's got bums on his team, he himself is still a bum. He can't win when he doesn't have all the players that he needs together to be able to run his little scheme that he does, which is get a lead and run the ball down their throat. Guess what? When I knew the Bills went up by 14, I was like, oh, this game's got to be over. And then Mac Jones throws the pick. I'm like, all right, if that's going to be the game, the Buffalo Bills completely blew up what the Patriots did to win this season. This season, what they did was get the league, run it down your throat. That's what they did. And when they didn't do that, they lost most games. That's what happened. So I think the Buffalo Bills absolutely look like a team that can beat anybody in the league right now. That showing last night made me feel confident going into every single game, because if I get that performance from this team going into Kansas City or against the Bengals or against the Titans, dude, I think this team's just going to play lights out and they can beat absolutely anybody. And it gives me full on confidence now in my pick from first round bye on Friday, where I said the Bills are winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah. If they play like this, there's not a team in the league that could beat them. I mentioned how on the pregame show yesterday, I talked about how we've seen defenses, number one defenses, as the Bills have. We've seen number one defenses lead their team to a Super Bowl, championship, right? They quarterback sometimes isn't even good. The offense is mediocre, but the defense is just like so relentless, that they lead them to a championship.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other times where we see quarterbacks who are just so good that they lead their team to a championship. Defense may be mediocre, but the quarterback will go out there and win a shootout and they, win a championship. So when you have both, when you have one of the most talented quarterbacks who's ever touched a football And then you have the number one defense in the NFL, bar none, undisputedly. Yards, points, passing, you name it. Number one defense, point differential, turnover, you name it. The number one defense in the entire league. With a superstar quarterback, last night is what you get. You get a team that shouldn't have even scored 17 points, and then an offense that scored 47, could have scored 65 if they wanted to. Excuse me. So I'm really excited. Like I can't wait to see who we play next week. I mean, the Chiefs better come with it. If they don't come with it today, then I don't know, man. And to be honest, I got the Chiefs losing. I think they're gonna blow it. I really do. And then the Bengals better come with it. And, the Bengals, their win was a little bit of a fluke. I mean, they won, but that one touchdown was a little questionable. If I'm Raiders fans, I am pissed off about that touchdown pass after the whistle. Because the defense definitely stopped playing, and you could see it. But it is what it is. That ain't gonna happen in Buffalo. So it better come with it. Whoever we get to play, better come with it.
See, can we talk about that whistle thing and what happened with the Bengals real quick? Because again, you could tell throughout that entire game that the refs were just so involved in that game that if I was a Raiders fan, I would be pissed off. Now I'm glad they gave the touchdown to the Bengals, because if that was a Bills play where Josh didn't step out of bounds and they called the whistle and the ball was and they did that, I mean, if they didn't give that to us, we'd be irate. We'd be pissed off, because that's literally almost kind of like the play that Josh made last night when Dawson Knox ended up snagging it. Like if they had called that, we'd all be pissed. So, but the Raiders, I mean, we talked about it, Justus. They did exactly what I thought they were going to do to the Bengals. Joe Burrow had no time back there in the pocket, dude. Like, if you get a team that can finish against that and just hold down Jamar Chase long enough to where Joe Burrow doesn't have time to just throw it to him before he gets sacked, you can beat that team. The Raiders almost did it. They don't look unbeatable. I mean, the Raiders are a slightly above average team, if anything, that made it in the playoffs. They're in the wild card round for a reason. I mean, we're in the wild card round, but we're the higher seed. But there's a reason why some of those lower teams are in there, and they still almost beat them. There's so many teams where you look and you're like, oh man, they almost lost to this team, or they almost, the Titans got blown out by the Texans a few weeks ago, and they're still the number one seed. So when I'm looking at all these other teams, I'm like, I'll take Buffalo against any of them all day. Plus the fact that we kind of have that, I know that chip is still going to be on the Bills' shoulders if we have to play the Chiefs, because I don't want to rely on the Steelers. They're probably going to fucking destroy tonight, unless they don't, which would be amazing. But I love that, because this team I feel like every single team that we can end up playing this year in the playoffs, the Bills can have that giant chip on their shoulder. We played the Chiefs. Yeah, we beat them in the regular season, but everyone's going to be like, yeah, but that's when the Chiefs were bad and all that
That's
stuff.
Such a stupid narrative, dude, man.
I hate that one. But then this team's going to be like, yeah, but this team sent us home last year in the playoffs, so we're going to make sure we end that run for them. And then if we play the Titans in the championship game, dude, that chip's going to be huge. They're going to be like, well, Buffalo couldn't get it done earlier in the year against the Titans, and Josh Allen slipped. They're going to be on a mission to win that game. There seems to be a path here where the Bills can have giant chips on their shoulders, which is when this team plays best. Ryan, what do you think about that?
Well, what I was going to say was, this is a different situation than last year, right? So the entire season, specifically for the AFC, but across the entire league, it was truly a week-to-week league. There was no hey, we're going to come into wow, this is a for-sure win. After the Jags loss, I was like, there's no more for-sure wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
We played Atlanta and everybody's like, oh, it's a for-sure. No, it's not. It's absolutely
no.
We lost 9-6 to Jacksonville. No, it's not. Stop. But no, so from there, so take that and then couple that with the fact, that I'm looking at who's in the playoffs, and I genuinely, the toughest matchup for Buffalo would be in the Super Bowl, depending on who they play. Like if they play Green Bay, which is what I think it will be. I think it will be Buffalo and Green Bay. That would be the toughest matchup. That would be absolutely the toughest matchup. But otherwise, I don't see a single team in the AFC that we can't beat, especially if they play like they did last night. Again, like you said, dude, maybe the conspiracy theorists were right, and these guys were just waiting for, because that was my thought, dude. I mean, we went 7 drives for 7 scores for the game.
Tommy Doyle caught a touchdown.
Yeah. How? I mean, I don't want to sit here and dunk on the Patriots, but I will. But how shit do you have to feel? How shit do you have to feel? How shit do you have to feel for the score to go up to 47, and the guy that caught it was an offensive lineman who didn't even start throughout the year, and you didn't even cover him. You saw the guy downfield, and you didn't even cover him, and he caught it in the corner. I mean, it's just, but there's literally nobody except for maybe Green Bay, and that's on the NFC side, where if they play like they did yesterday, I'm not saying the same plays and et cetera, I'm saying if they play with the heart, the passion, the intelligence, and the vision that they had yesterday, I'm going to talk about vision here in a second, because I need to talk about this. We absolutely are going to be in the Super Bowl. For the first time in my lifetime, we're going to be in the Super Bowl. But let's talk about vision.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Singletary. I got to tell you, I can't tell you how much I've missed this, but I love running back touchdowns. And he balled out. This wasn't like we're going to go and get a couple yards. This is, hey, look at Brian Daboll finally used the running backs correctly. And Devin Singletary can run it interior. He can run it exterior. It doesn't matter where he is. Devin Singletary is going to find a way. He can catch. He can be the check down for Josh. He is RB1. There's no more discussion. After armchair GMs earlier. Yeah, no, after armchair GMs earlier in the week, because Justus and I discovered this. I don't know how, Jake, I don't know how often you use Spot Rack, but they have like a manage roster tool, and you can cut, sign, blah, blah, blah. So I went to Buffalo. I cut Zach Moss, dude. I cut him. I just straight up cut him.
I was just about to ask you that question. Is Zach Moss even on the team next year, or is is the only competition next year for RB2?
We got to redo the Bills with that track, with that new tool. Seriously.
Yeah, dude. I was seriously thinking about that. So I like that you said that. But yeah, man, it's just like, I feel like I'm just gonna make podcasts all day today. This is just a perfect day.
Right, bro.
But I gotta let my tablet cool because it's already overheating. But no, dude,
your
Devin
tablet be about to explode.
I know, right? Devin Singletary RB1 for sure. When he's used correctly, which has been my problem with Brian Daboll since the 2018 game, when you're using Frank Gore on the outside runs, right? Like that's my issue. That's my main issue with Brian Daboll. And I will admit, after last night, I have no issues with him based on last night's performance. So I'm not going to, there's nothing ill that I have to say about the offensive coordinator, except for where the hell has this been all season? But like Jake said, they haven't been on the.
It was on page 3.
Yeah, it was on page 3. And they were using page 1 all year. And but no, dude, Devin Singletary RB1 for sure. Just let him run it, because then they gave it to Zach Moss. Literally, Singletary was out there so much that they accidentally called Zach Moss Singletary. They're like, "Oh no, we realized it's 20, and that's Moss." And you were at like the 2 or 3 yard line, and Moss still couldn't get it through to the end into the end zone. Like, dude, no offense, but come on, this is a playoff game. I know that you had the injury last year, but like, dude, Harrison Phillips, who's taken way more hits than you and way more pressure than you, who's doing, like Justus's face just described, an amazing job this year.
Amazing.
The fact that he okay, so hold on. Let's talk about that too. Ed Oliver, Harrison Phillips.
Don't cream all at once, guys. Come on.
Everybody wanted both
South
of them
Park,
on.
like just absolute everywhere.
Everybody wanted them both gone, and guess what? Ed Oliver solidified himself this season, and Harrison Phillips put Starr on the bench. He put Starr on the bench. this team and the guys that you are, people are giving these guys 1-2 years. It's like, all right, give them to at least year 3, then start to evaluate. Like they're on 4-year contracts, 3 to 4 year contracts. Give them their first contract. Harrison Phillips had that major injury, but it's like Singletary. Edmonds is a little bit better than a lot of people want to talk about. Phillips, Oliver, like all these guys everybody wanted gone last year. Even though we made it to the AFC Championship, are stars in last night's game and stars throughout the season. Oh man, I can't say enough. But no, Devin Singletary, it's been a while since we've seen running backs run into the end zone with the ball on more than maybe like a yard or two. I mean, this guy's out there getting, 15, 20 yards by, catching it or running it. Man, I love it. And I'm very happy that I have my Singletary jersey. It's not on right now. I got my Josh Allen alternate classic, but very happy with Devin Singletary for sure.
You got to love it. And I know Justus has been riding with our guy Singletary all year. And the best thing in the game with Singletary was when basically he got us down into the red zone. And then Brian Daboll just said, you know what? I'm going to hand it off 4 times in a row to Singletary, and they just could not stop him. It was amazing offensive line play, and Singletary just took advantage of it every single time they handed the ball to him, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, all right, I know Singletary they've been building this run game up the last couple weeks going into the playoffs, and maybe that was to give them finally some more confidence going in, and then that we knew that might be our game plan going in to run that balanced type of offense. And look, I'm like, all right, it doesn't matter how you're going to try to defend the Buffalo Bills. Now it's just kind of like the way Singletary's playing. You want to try to take away the passing game? We're just going to hand it off to Devin Singletary. Like he's just going to run it down your throat.
This is an offense where you legitimately have to double team every weapon, which you can't do because you would have to double team your running back. You would have to double team Josh. They need to do to Josh Allen what they did to Starr in the Dolphins game where they got like 4 guys,
3 people on him. Yeah,
you need to double team Diggs, Davis, Beasley, Sanders. It doesn't matter. You can take JC Jackson off Diggs and put him on the 3rd or 4th guy, which by the way, JC Jackson, Justus, answer your question of what you wouldn't take JC Jackson if he was available. Yeah, the guy's getting burnt by Dawson Knox. I mean, he's getting burnt by depth guys too. So it's just like you can take him off that. You can put 2 other guys on Diggs. It doesn't matter. You need to double team. You need to I don't know if this is grammatically correct. You need to put like 5 guys. You need a pentagon, Dawson Knox and Devin Singletary because of these angry runs that they're prone to do. You have Josh Allen who's going to run or air the ball out. The running backs, we have a running game now. Devin Singletary, the best running back in the NFL the last 4 weeks of the season. Undoubtedly, probably the best with his performance last night in the postseason. And then it doesn't matter. You can take away Diggs, but then you have Knox, Singletary, Davis. Take away Davis. You have Diggs. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. You need to double team everybody. And you can't do that. It's not possible. And that's why if they play the way that they played last night, the Buffalo Bills are going to be Super Bowl. We can legitimately go for 4. We can go for 4 with this team, with this play calling. Are you kidding me? Hold on. That's a good question. Mm-hmm. If we win the Super Bowl this year, do Frazier and Daboll leave?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
I mean, I hope you can keep Frazier.
I see, and here's the thing, and I will have a conversation about that because I kind of want to talk about who do you think will actually leave and stuff like that. But I feel like the Patriots didn't learn their lesson the last time they played us. And that didn't seem like you could just tell the same thing was happening. Josh was taking the checkdowns and Singletary was running over him. They weren't doing anything to try to stop that. Isaiah McKenzie, Brandon, or whatever, Miles Bryant, the safety, who was getting destroyed the last time they played and he was covering McKenzie. They had him out there covering McKenzie again. Like, we were embarrassing that whole defense, the Buffalo Bills. And it's great because we have all these weapons, and we've always talked about the wealth of just talent that we have, but we've never been able to utilize every single one of them in a game plan to where if one gets taken away, okay, this guy's going to come in and he's going to do his thing. We've never really done that effectively as best as we did yesterday. Yesterday, it was like, okay, they want to take that guy away. All right, Mackenzie, we're going to take you on a jet sweep. Or, all right, Dawson Knox is going to be like, it was such a perfect game. Obviously, it was one of the best and perfect offensive games in history.
Ever.
So like,
it's the first time in NFL history there were a touchdown on every drive. There were no turnovers, no sacks, and
no punts. No field goals either.
No field goals too. Yep.
Put it in the
NFL
hall.
history, regular season, post, doesn't matter. First time ever.
Put it in the hall.
A literally perfect game. The only thing that would have made it 100% perfect was if you held them to a shutout. That's it.
Oh yeah.
If you held them
Tyler
to a
Bass
shutout.
would have made his extra points then. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
but I'm not even mad at that. He was 51-51 in the regular season. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, you want to talk about another guy that Bills fans immediately wanted to get rid of, and he's become one of the best kickers in the NFL.
Not me.
Not us.
Not me.
Not me. But Bills fans, but some Bills fans wanted to get rid of him, and he's already cementing himself to be on the path that's been walked by Justin Tucker and Adam Vinatieri. Like he's walking that path already.
As a second year pro.
That was it's amazing because while everybody else was calling him Tyler Ass, yes, I'm talking to you, Dan Mitchell. We had conversations about this. He was calling him Tyler Ass. I said, no, he's Bass Money, and you're going to learn about that. He's one of the best kickers in college football, and we took him on the draft pick for a reason. You don't draft a kicker unless you're getting rid of your kicker. Unless you're getting rid of your kicker, too, that you have. Like, you don't waste a draft pick. Yeah. So like when Hauschka, we all kind of knew he wasn't the same anymore. When they drafted Tyler Bass, I looked over at my dad and said, yeah, Hauschka's gone. Because not only was he a great kicker, and I knew that when he came in, he was probably going to translate pretty well. But the only reason he was so bad is because Corey Bojorquez didn't know how to hold the damn ball. Like it took them a while for Corey Bojorquez to finally learn how to hold it at least enough so that Tyler Bass could hit those balls perfectly. And once they were on the same page, it's been a different story ever since. So I've never been a Tyler Ass guy. He's been Bass Money since day one. But talking about the coaching staff, and you guys brought this up because, you know, I would love for McDermott to keep Dayball and Frazier, and we just go on this run. But I was talking last night because I was with my brother and his wife and then my little brother, and we were talking about it. I don't think that they're going to stay, but I think the one that we have a chance of keeping is Leslie Frazier.
Yeah.
And I think that's only because Leslie Frazier has been a head coach in the league before, and maybe when they're interviewing him, you know, he kind of has like that thing on his resume where, well, he kind of already didn't make it as a head coach already. So when a team is looking at that, they might go, and they might be a little. It's the same thing with like Todd Bowles, where it's like Todd Bowles has been a coach already, and it's like, but he has a really good defense when he's got all of his pieces together. So I feel like more teams want to lean more towards guys like Brian Flores, who actually had success with the Dolphins, even though, you know, they had all their problems, and guys like Brian Daboll, who have never been a head coach before. They'd rather go for the new guy rather than, you know, guys that have done it before. What do you think about that, Justus?
I like it because, first of all, I have superior confidence in this coaching staff and their abilities to develop talent, right? You take a look at Josh Allen. People coming out of college, Josh Allen was a bust. He was like, this guy's awful. He can't even complete an NFL pass. All he can do is run and throw the ball real far. Right. Like, it was just terrible things were being said about this kid, right? He's now one of, if not the best quarterback in the league. Most certainly the most talented quarterback in the league because he could throw like Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes, and he can run like Lamar Jackson. I mean, not like Lamar Jackson, but he's like maybe 2 notches behind Lamar Jackson.
Well, he's like
every other
quarterback with the legs.
Exactly. Every other quarterback is 5, 6, 7 notches behind Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen might be 1.5, 2, because he's certainly a more efficient runner. You know what I mean? If we're being honest. So
yeah,
we see that Josh is an absolute unicorn. And then you look at, again, Tyler Bass, as you guys mentioned, he started out really, really rough. Now, one of the best kickers in the league, one of the most reliable kickers in the league, perfect from PAT attempts in the regular season. I think he missed less than 5 kicks this entire season. I'm not gonna lie. And then the only time he did was because it was really set up for failure in that game versus New England, where the winds were at 60 miles per hour, kicking into the wind, right?
Yep.
And then you look at guys like Dawson Knox, came out of Ole Miss, was a quarterback, for God's sake. Was on the same team as DK Metcalf and AJ Brown. Had no opportunities. Comes to Buffalo, we're like, oh, this kid's kind of nice. He's got some talent, but he's a little raw. They developed him. Now he's one of the better tight ends in the league. Tremaine Edmonds, he's growing into one of the best linebackers. Teron Johnson is growing into probably the best nickel cornerback in the league. Matt Milano was a 6th-round pick when he was supposed to be good. Now he's one of the best linebackers in the league. Levi Wallace, undrafted free agent, and is now probably one of the better number 2 cornerbacks in the league. I could go on and on and on and on, but they have proven time and time again that they can develop talent, and that's exactly what they've done. I am so excited to see what guys like Andre Smith Jr. and Terrell Dotson and Tyler Matakevich and Damar Hamlin, guys like, I'm so excited to see what these guys are going to become. Gabriel Davis, Isaiah Hodgins, like, bro, the sky is the limit for these guys. Sean McDermott is a genius. I would be a little afraid of losing Leslie Frazier only because I don't know whose defense is. Sean McDermott said it's Leslie Frazier's defense. So if Leslie Frazier were to leave, of course I do trust McDermott, but I just wouldn't know. You know what I mean? It'll be a little, you know what I mean? So as far as Brian Daboll leaving, if you would have asked me this 5 weeks ago, I'd be like, leave, go. I want him gone, fire him, actually. You know what I mean? But now you look at it, and the man produces the greatest offensive play calling game ever in postseason history, maybe in NFL history. And it's like, well, kind of want you to stay now. Like, where the hell was this all season? I got a question for you guys, though. Is Isaiah McKenzie an essential part of this offense?
Yes.
Yes.
I will say this. I tweeted it last night. Isaiah McKenzie went from he was brought into this team as a building block. He dropped to being on this team, hanging on by a thread by being a special teams guy, to cementing himself as a absolutely critical part of this offense, because nobody can do what he can do. And that's the genius of this team, is they didn't go out and get 7 wide receivers who can all do the same thing. Each wide receiver, you cannot look at anybody on this team and go, oh, he does the same thing as the other guy. No, as good as Stephon Diggs is, he is not making the toe drag catches that Davis makes. Nobody has the speed to get over or under and break ankles and just pop up like McKenzie can. There's no way. Sanders, I would say that Sanders is similar to Diggs, but he's also he's a mix between a guy that can go downfield and a slot guy. So he's a little bit of both. So, and then you head over to the other side of the receiving core with, you have running backs that can catch out of the backfield. You have each running back is completely different. Singletary is I'm gonna grab you and drag you with me. Moss is a guy who is supposed to be Marshawn Lynch 2.0 and just isn't. And Breed is the speed guy. And then you head over to the tight ends, and you have a fullback / tight end in Reggie Gilliam. And then you have Dawson Knox, who learned how to catch this offseason at tight end university, and we all made fun of him for going to it. We're like, there's no way that this tight end university thing is going to work. And then it worked, and he became an elite tight end this year. I'll say it. He became an elite tight end this year. Absolutely. So there's everybody on this team does something completely different. And I absolutely am all for, I mean, I think Sanders is gone in the offseason. I don't think that they bring it back. I think they let Cole ride out his one more year. It's cheaper than just cutting him. And there's still use for him on the offense, but then it's like, oh, who else do you go out and get? You don't need to go get anybody. Isaiah McKenzie's already on the team. You just have to give him a new contract.
Just draft somebody, honestly, like, because
Which we don't even need to do, because then you have Isaiah Hodgins. So, and then you have Tanner Gentry. Like, you have so many other wide receivers on the practice squad too.
But those are on the practice squad. What I'm saying is, like, you still want guys that, you know, have meaningful depth. Like, when I look at Isaiah Hodgins, you were like, oh, guys they draft that, you know, maybe they don't do the same thing. But when I look at Isaiah Hodgins, I kind of look at him like him and Gabe Davis. Like, I feel like Gabe Davis just has higher intangibles really than you do with Hodgins. And then again, you said that, like, Diggs doesn't have that toe drag swag that Gabe Davis does.
He does, but not like to the, like, he's not doing it to the
Gabe
extent,
Davis is
you know?
one of one.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
trust me, I know.
Yeah. I'm saying, but so I'll revise what I said a little bit then. He absolutely does, but it's like, in that situation, I'm gonna want Gabe to be that guy, then I'm gonna want Steph to be that guy, because Steph can do a million other things that Gabe necessarily can't do.
Yeah. So yeah, I would definitely, like, if I was the Bills, I would keep like your practice squad guys that you kind of have. But like, if you let Sanders go, I mean, if we win a Super Bowl this year, Sanders is gone anyway. So
yeah,
like he already said he's riding on to the sunset. So you can just do what you've been doing and just draft some later round guys and hope that they turn into something. Because look, wide receivers, they're just getting better and better every single draft class. The deeper you go into draft classes, there's still guys that you can get that have things that would make them super successful, especially in this offense. So I love Isaiah McKenzie, and I want us to, when he was just making people look like fools last night, I was like, we need to pay that man. You pay him now. And then Cole Beasley gets that one right over the middle, and I'm like, see, that's why we have Cole Beasley, because he finds those spots in those zones where he's wide open. But it's like we never use it, because they're, again, going to the well of talent that we have. Like Beasley, it's just kind of like we'll use it when he's like that last guy that's there. And I agree with Ryan. I think they're going to let him ride out probably that last year, but I don't see them bringing Beasley back. Or even when I was talking to my brother last night, I was like, even if they do anything, maybe they, just to free up some money, they'll extend him and then restructure, like extend him 1 year.
Yeah.
So I could see them doing that with Beasley as well. I mean, there's a ton of stuff that the Buffalo Bills can do. I don't know if it was you, Ryan, who was messing around with the spot track thing, saying that the Bills were going to be over like 32 or whatever.
I was wrong.
I kind of wanted you to
math, and I was absolutely incorrect on that. I ended up getting them
3.2 million.
So what was that?
It was 3.2 million instead of 32 million.
Yeah, it was no. I ended up so I thought it calculated the years out. And so like for Levi Wallace, I just put in that he was getting $17 million. Like I changed his cap paid to 17 mil. So I redid it. I restructured it out based on his market value. I did the same thing for F.A. Obata, who I just guessed Obata like 3 years, 18 mil, just because that'll be a little bit up from where he's at now. And then what I would like to do is so like Justus said, we'll probably redo the Bills for armchair GMs, because they're 7 mil. They're good. They're in the positive for 7 mil next year after payments. But I restructured Trey White, Star Lotulelei, and Josh Allen. I took their money this year and converted it to the base minimum. So without that, I don't know what it would be, but I do know regardless, money is going to be tight.
Yeah.
No matter what. And so guys are going to have to restructure contracts. I'm assuming, I picked Trey and Star because Star ended up sitting on the bench and Trey was injured for this year. I assumed that they would be restructure candidates, based on production. But yeah, I mean, money's going to be tight next year. But sorry, go ahead with what you were saying.
With what I was saying. I wanted to kind of get our thoughts of, we didn't really finish. I wanted to get your thoughts, Ryan, on the coaching staff. Where do we think that these guys kind of land? Like we can.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. It's fine. Where do they land? Where do you think?
I absolutely see Dable going to Chicago 100%. 100%. I look at any other opening in the NFL. I don't see him going anywhere else but Chicago. And I don't know why you wouldn't. You have Justin Fields, who personally, I look at the quarterback draft class and I go, Justin Fields has the most potential. He is, I think, the best quarterback potentially to come out of that draft class in the long run. And he wasn't supposed to be. And so I see him going to there. But in addition, Jake, to what you were saying about Frazier and what's kind of, the red that's dripping from his ledger from his time in Minnesota. And obviously, there were some reports that came out last week about Frazier's time as the head coach in Minnesota and some not good things that popped up. But I simply don't think that Frazier, I think that he enjoys getting the looks. I don't think he wants to be a head coach again. I simply don't think he wants to be. He's what? He's in his 60s or at least heading into his 60s.
Yeah,
something like that.
He's getting older. And listen, I know I just saw a video of Wade Phillips dancing on the sideline. Like, I get it. People coach Pete Carroll's into his 60s. I get that people stay coaching for a long, long, long time, but I just simply don't think Frazier, unless Frazier were to go to a situation that is like very good and has a lot of money and they give him a little bit more authority, like something like is in Buffalo where the head coach has, a say with the front office and the personnel that they're bringing in. I quite simply don't see him wanting to expend the energy to do that when you can just continue to win Super Bowl rings in Buffalo. I mean, maybe he does in a couple years or another year or two down the line, but I quite simply don't see Frazier going anywhere. I think he just enjoys the looks.
All right. And I want to get your thoughts because you think that Dayball goes to the Bears. Why not Leslie Frazier going to the Bears?
Well, like I said, I think he enjoys the looks. I think he likes to play the game. I just don't think he really wants to go anywhere. But when I see Frazier, I don't. If I had to pick a place for Frazier, I think, and I wouldn't want this to happen, but I think Miami would be a fantastic landing spot for him because Miami's already set for success. I mean, they went from 47 to 53 guys requesting a trade in Flores' first year to being a game out of the playoffs in a competitive AFC East. So, A, still don't understand why he got fired. B, Miami seems like the perfect place for Frazier to go. But honestly, I would not be against the idea of Frazier returning to Minnesota.
Okay.
I absolutely would not. And I would hope and I would think that Vikings fans, and Justus and I did a breakdown of the Vikings for Armchair. Well, actually, I don't think Justus was on that episode. I think
that was A-Rich.
Yeah, it was A-Rich because Justus was feeling a little under the weather. But we did a breakdown of the Vikings, and it's not a bad roster. It's not a bad roster in Minnesota. What really needs to step up is their defense, and you have coached the best defense in the NFL the last couple of seasons. So Leslie Frazier, return to Minnesota, not against it, but again, I don't know. It's just a gut feeling. It's a vibe that I get from him. I think he just enjoys being the guy who's, he enjoys being the guy's guy. He doesn't want to be the guy. He enjoys being the guy that the guy goes to.
Yeah, I can see what you're talking about. And I'll get your thoughts on this, Justus. I just kind of want to put out, I think the only reason I would link Leslie Frazier to the Bears is, of course, he was on the 85 Bears team, so he's got a link to the organization. And they're a team that's usually really based on having a really good defense, and they do have some really good players on that. And of course, they might be like, hey, you've been there and watched Josh Allen develop. Maybe you'll know how to, do something here with kind of the same thing why teams may want Brian Daboll. But I also think that Brian Daboll might go to Miami. And I think that might be a big thing there. Not only is it because Miami gets to see Brian Daboll absolutely embarrass them twice a year, but he sees, hey, he worked with Tua in his rookie year when he was when he was with Alabama. So if you're kind of Miami and you're looking like, okay, what do we really want? Well, tell me that a Brian Daboll, Vic Fangio coaching staff in Miami wouldn't get that defense right and that offense looking at least more respectable than it already does with Tua, with Brian Daboll, who does have a history with Tua. I think that he honestly would probably be a good fit in Miami. I think that the real problem with Miami is Stephen Ross and Chris Greer, who's been the GM for 20 years in Miami, and they haven't done jack shit. But that's not, he's just a puppet for the GM, so that's why he's never going to get any of the blame. But I think that I actually think it was kind of like the reverse. I think that Leslie Frazier actually might fit with the Bears, and that Brian Daboll would fit with the Dolphins. What do you think, Justus?
I'm gonna be honest, guys. I really don't think Brian Flores is ready to be a head coach. To be honest, I feel like
Brian Daboll.
Yeah, I feel like Brian Daboll kind of got the hey, this guy is a once in a lifetime talent, and I happened to be with him when he entered the league, and he happened to become a great quarterback quicker than anybody anticipated. And, I happen to be able to run whatever the hell I want through this unicorn, and it works for the most part. Seeing him be so inept from time to time with Josh Allen kind of makes me a little weary, and it tells me that if he had Tua Tagovailoa, it would be disgusting. And I can't speak for his defense, although I know he has been all over the place in terms of coaching. It wasn't just offensive coordinator. He was also special teams. I believe it was defensive line at one point. He's been all over the place, right? But is Brian Daboll like a leader of men? I really don't know. Like, even when he sits up in the booth, which I know a lot of guys do, but if I was a player, I'd rather have my coach on the sideline with me.
Yeah.
It's not a knock toward him or anything, it's cold up there, but Leslie Frazier's down on the field.
Gets a better
view. Bird view of it. Yeah, and absolutely.
Just to throw this on top of that, because you brought it up, do you think he kind of does the Josh McDaniels thing, where Josh McDaniels was around for so long because Tom Brady was the quarterback, and it always felt like McDaniels could leave, but he didn't always do it? And he did it for he went to the Broncos, and then that didn't work out, so then he ended up coming back, and then he was going to leave to go to the Colts, and then decided not to because they still had Tom Brady. Do you think it's just kind of like Brian Daboll is going to be like, you know what? I'm good with Josh Allen.
Before I get to that real quick, Josh McDaniels said he was going to leave to go to the Colts before they hired Frank Reich, like you just mentioned. And then Bill Belichick convinced him to stay by saying, I'm going to teach you the inner workings of what I do here in New England. And then from that point on, New England's offense was putrid from that point on, which is kind of like, wow, that's very interesting. But as far as Brian Daboll goes, I think he absolutely benefited from having a remarkable quarterback. And I don't know if he's going to be able to replicate that type of success with another quarterback. But as far as Leslie Frazier goes, I think Leslie Frazier could be a really good head coach. And I say that because defense didn't have any superstars 3 years ago. Not a one. And he's helped develop most of these guys into superstars. Even before they were superstars, he was still having a pretty good defense with these guys. His scheme is just so good. That bend don't break. People don't like it, but it's effective. It works. So you have the number one or top 5 scoring defense, multiple times now. Your top 5 overall defense multiple times now. I feel like and I don't think he did a bad job in Minnesota. I don't think he had the best cards, given to him. So I think he'd be a very successful head coach. I hope he doesn't leave, because he is our assistant head coach. He's also our defensive coordinator. I would love for Leslie Frazier to stay. I wouldn't mind too much if Brian Daboll goes. But let's just bring Ken Dorsey to be fair.
That's what I'm saying. Just bring up Ken Dorsey to take over that. I kind of like when it comes to the offense of just kind of guys that are learning under the guy that eventually leaves. So you don't bring in a whole new person. You kind of just call up the next guy, and then he gets a few years. And then if he leaves, then you get the next guy that was under him. And you just kind of try to run the same thing over and over again, because I don't know how complex the real system of Brian Daboll's offense is. But I just looked at this Eagles-Bucks game that's going on right now. The Eagles are 14-0. Okay. I mean, I kind of assume that. But yeah, no, man, I don't know. When it comes to the defense, that's the one that I'm worried about when we lose somebody, because I don't know about bringing somebody up. Now, of course, teams might look at Leslie Frazier, and one of the things that a lot of players say, and you said that you don't know if Brian Daboll is a leader of men. One of the things that the defense says is they say that that Leslie Frazier is that kind of leader. Like, they all love Leslie Frazier like that, and he is that kind of leader. So maybe that does help him again, but like Ryan said, the red dripping from the ledger just from him being in Minnesota. Who knows, man? I'm not sure. I don't know if we have the same Bills coaching staff going in the next year. If somehow we were able to retain it again, my God, the league.
Watch out.
I just want to say to Justus's comment about Daboll being up in the booth. We've seen what the offense looks like when he's on the sideline. That's why he's up in the booth. So that is not good. But no, I mean, listen, if we were able to retain it again, which I don't think that we will. However, I don't trust the and I'm just talking organizationally, because Schoen, as the assistant GM, absolutely deserves a GM job somewhere. I just don't
go to the Giants.
I just don't trust that the Giants are going to make good decisions, because they're the Giants. So there's that. But yeah, man, if we were able to retain, obviously, if I had to pick one over the other, I'm picking Frazier over Daboll. Because again, there's still no matter, because yes, I'm not going to question anything he did last night, right? I mean, he pitched the first perfect game in NFL history, but then there's other question marks that come up because of that, being, chiefly, where has this been all season?
Right.
Like seriously, where has this been all season?
Yeah.
Where has this been? You had, we retained the majority of the team. Dawson Knox learned how to catch better, and we added Emmanuel Sanders. We didn't lose anybody else. The offensive line is mainly the same. What is there? We didn't get a new quarterback. We didn't, nothing major happened to it. Where has this been all season? When you're losing to Jacksonville, where was this? This is take 47 times it by about 500. That's what the score should have been against Jacksonville if this is how they played. So, I don't know. I would love to keep Frazier over Daboll, but if Daboll can do this, I would absolutely love to retain him. But also, I mean, I'm not going to be mad if he goes away, because, when it comes to the defense, you can have really talented guys, but if the scheme isn't right, then you completely just neutralize. You take your own defense out at the knees if you don't have the right scheme for the guys that are on that team. Whereas with the offense, you can kind of adapt the team to the offensive scheme that you bring in. And I would absolutely enjoy seeing a Ken Dorsey or somebody else that we might bring into the organization who's a young first or second time offensive coordinator to come in and play with all these toys. I mean, you get to come in and scheme for Josh Allen. You get to use McKenzie. You have Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. You have Dawson Knox. You have, a run game that you can try and reestablish dominance through with Devin Singletary and whoever they bring in. I know a lot of Bills Mafia wants a Breece Hall in this draft to come in and back Singletary up. So, you have all these toys on offense that a new guy is going to come in. And, right, that's, I guess, the detriment to Daboll is he's been here for a while. So you can kind of sometimes get complacent. And now, obviously, we know, like I said before, him being on the sideline, way different offense than him being up in the booth. So you bring in a new guy. Oh man, what you can do with that is limitless. It's a completely endless way that you can go about it. But you got to bring in the right guys.
100% agree with that. We've been doing this for about an hour, so of course I want us to, wrap it up by us talking about who do we think. Obviously, there's like two options of who we can play in the next round, right? It's either going to be the Chiefs or
Chiefs.
the Bengals. So, what are you guys feeling going into either one of those matchups? You can break up each one individually if you'd like, but just kind of how do you feel, especially coming off this high of absolutely sending the Patriots home packing with their tears, with their fans absolutely thinking they took over, Buffalo last night when they definitely didn't. They were all pretty much gone by halftime, especially the owner, Robert Kraft, was also reportedly gone by halftime. So what do you guys think going into this next game, whether it's Kansas City or the Bengals? Ryan, let's get your take on that.
So I really wanted the Bengals and Bills to be an AFC matchup, like championship matchup. Mm-hmm. I think that would be pretty cool. Joe Burrow is a guy. He's gonna be the guy. But I mean, this road to the Super Bowl simulation that someone put together is what I've pretty much been using because I think that it's right. I think we play Cincinnati next round. And then I think with that, we beat Cincinnati. And I think we end up going to Tennessee. And then we beat Tennessee to go to the Super Bowl and play Green Bay. And then we win. We beat out Green Bay. So I think that's the track that we win. But I think, like I said before, I don't see anybody in the AFC that's going to give us trouble. I really don't. I mean, I think we've even – from where we were against the Colts, which I was at that game, unfortunately, in the rain and the cold, watching Jonathan Taylor just march up and down the field. I mean, we figured it out. Tremaine Edmonds has a higher run stop percentage than Milano. Phillips has put Starr on the bench. That's how much better he's being at run stop. And Ed Oliver has also been crushing guys left and right all year. And Dane Jackson also coming out of the backfield to just knock some of these guys out. That cannot be stated enough. So we figured out the run game. I'm not really worried about Tennessee if we have to face them in a championship game.
I completely agree with you, honestly, and I've seen that exact projection that you've been talking about, and I think that's most likely the way that it goes. But Justus, how do you think that this is going to go down? Whether we have to play the Bengals or we play the Chiefs, how do you think the Buffalo Bills run it? And do they get to the AFC Championship game regardless of who they play?
If they play like they played yesterday, that's 100% a fact. It doesn't matter if the 2016 New England Patriots stepped on the field, they're losing that game. The Bills were just so dominant yesterday. They did everything right. They played complementary football. They worked together. They just had the game plan figured out for every single thing Bill Belichick threw at them. They had it figured out. Special teams as well, So again, I have an inkling. I don't know why. I just feel like the Chiefs are about to just blow it tonight. I do. I really do.
Sure hope so.
So we'll see what happens with that. But if we have to play the Bengals, I think here's the thing. Their defense is not great. And we just obliterated the number 2 defense in the NFL, right? We could do that to the Bengals as well. They have good players, but not as good as New England. So we could dominate the Bengals defense as well. And then it'll take that bad man that Ryan mentioned, Joe Burrow, to beat us. And as bad of a man as he is, as good as, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd are, I don't think they can do that, go up and down the field and keep up with the number 1 secondary in the league. I think Josh Allen is going to be able to make some plays, and Joe Burrow probably, might feel the pressure, try to make too many plays that, don't go well. And I can see the same exact thing with the Chiefs. If you try to hang with us, if we're scoring and anybody is trying to hang with us, they're going to have to throw against our secondary. It's not going to be fun. and don't let our pass rush get to you, because then you definitely have no chance. The Bills line definitely did their thing yesterday. I love the pressure. Would like to see them get off blocks a little bit more to go ahead and get to the quarterback. But yeah, man, I'm confident. I'm confident that really just, it kind of felt like, hey, the regular season's over. We can turn it on now. That's what yesterday felt like. And if that's the case, we're lifting the Lombardi in a month.
100%. It felt like the Buffalo Bills turned it up to 11, especially once the postseason started. And just to talk about the Bengals did get beat up a little bit yesterday on both sides of the ball, actually. But one of the things that happened is I feel like the Bengals, Joe Burrow has an over-reliance on Jamar Chase. You feel like every single time that Joe Burrow has to get bailed out, it's going to Jamar Chase because he's making people look like fools because they're not scheming the right defense against him. It's kind of like, Joe Burrow already alluded to the meeting. It was like, yeah, when I'm in trouble, it's just like, F it. Jamar's down there somewhere. So like you gotta think that the Buffalo Bills are going to be like, all right, well, how about you beat us with T. Higgins or Boyd instead of, throwing it to Jamar Chase every single time you're in trouble like that, because that's exactly how they beat the Raiders. Is it just went to Jamar Chase every single time.
See, but like even with that, like Jamar Chase is going to be getting probably covered by Levi Wallace or whoever side of the field he's on if we're playing zone, right? Then Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, they have to deal with Dane Jackson and Teron Johnson, or you know what I mean? Like, so it's not going to be easy any way you swing it. Like, they're going to have problems to contend with the secondary if we are to play them. So Jamar Chase, those little bailouts, just throw it in his direction and hope to God he turns around in time like they did yesterday. It's not going to swing in Buffalo.
Yeah, and that's just what I'm saying is that they're going to want you and invite you to beat us with somebody else, even though the guys that we have covering them are more than capable of being able to do that job. They're just going to make sure that they try to get that number one weapon that Joe Burrow goes to so often out of that game as much as they can. I mean, as good of a receiver as he is, you're not going to be able to take him out fully because that's just how good receivers are, but you're going to be able to neutralize him at least to a certain degree. And with the Chiefs, we've played this Chiefs team before. Now, it's stupid that the Steelers went and traded them Melvin Ingram. We talked about that on first round bye, and that completely fixed their defensive line. But at the beginning of the year, all their struggles came because they had Chris Jones out on the edge, and that's not what Chris Jones plays. So, but still, this Chiefs team hasn't been blowing teams out at the end of the year. No team in the AFC has really came in except for maybe Buffalo and the Chiefs, where the Chiefs lost their last game to the Bengals, so they didn't even come in undefeated. So
and they almost lost to who was that? Their Chargers before that.
Yeah, so they're not unbeatable. There's nobody that's unbeatable. And if you had to tell me and why I see a lot of people picking the Bills is just that when a team has it turned on both ends of the ball, the Bills just get it done. That's the thing. When they have it turned on both sides of the ball, and the Chiefs, even the Chiefs defense turned up to 10 is not as good as the Bills defense turned up to 10. That's just a fact. So when you have to go, all right, if you have both teams turned all the way up, who are you taking? The Bills got to be the most dominant one out of the whole bunch. So that's why I don't think it really matters who we play. I think it's going to be a good game regardless. Of course, I hope for a fucking blowout because you want it to be easy. But I have no clue, but I have the utmost confidence in these Bills. And, dude, I can't wait. I feel like the road for the Lombardi is just kind of paving itself in front of us. And if we finally get to see a Super Bowl in our lifetime, because I watched my grandfather pass away, always saying, hey, at least just get one before I die. And he never got to saw that. Now I'm hearing my dad say the same thing. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. So I'm like, we got to get one. we can't be that next generation of people that's like, oh, just one before I die. Just
Yeah.
one before I die. We can't do that. And this team seems like the team to be able to get that done. So yeah, guys, that was an awesome first show. I hope we do this
like
again
that.
because
We should.
I love being those
Let's
Buffalo
go.
football guys. And of course, just talking Bills football is always fun. So of course,
And this is a good group.
yeah, and we don't have like a big audience or anything if we're doing this outside of Built in Buffalo or whatever. But like, I haven't posted because it's like going on Twitter on Justus's Twitter, and then like on my YouTube channel that's been dormant for like a year because I went to Built in Buffalo. So like in time it'll do better. But no,
Yeah.
dude, this has been awesome, you guys. So
yeah, when people start expecting these shows, they'll anticipate it and they'll be able to come in and join us more. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. And I always love to talk Bills football, and I know you guys too. So
Absolutely.
that's awesome.
Sir.
So yeah, from all three of us here, we will see you guys whenever the next time we see you, probably after we absolutely handle whoever the next team is in the playoffs. And until then, go Bills.
Go Bills.